Okay, so here we are again with another McFarlane DC Superpowers unboxing, and this is the Riddler. Check out that cool 80s Riddler logo, looking all neon and stuff. Neon before there was Joel Schumacher, more like literally like a neon sign with the glass bulb all twisted up. But yeah, I got a nice piece of artwork on the side of the Riddler there. I don't think that's Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. I'm not sure who it would be, but I don't think it's him. And then the Riddler himself over here. We're going to have some discussion about how they chose to execute this Riddler figure. I got to say offhand, just right off the bat, I'm a little bit disappointed with how they handled this guy, but we'll get into all that. So here's the cross cell with all the figures back there. Whole lot of figures. We're getting a whole lot more figures now. I've opened up. This will be my fourth one, I think, that I've opened up this week. Superman, Bizarro, Batman, the Riddler, and then I've still got Aquaman to take care of. So yeah, let's go ahead and read the bio on the back. Riddle us this. What cerebral criminal with an affinity for purple and green loves challenging the Dark Knight with cleverly calculated crimes and puzzling plots? Is it Helicopter? All right, so let's go ahead and open them up. All right. Get the bubble off the back here. And since this is the first figure from this wave that I've opened that doesn't have a cape, he only has one inner bubble, and there's the Riddler out. Now, a little bit of the history for Superpowers Riddler. They never made a Riddler figure in the original Superpowers line, but when a South American toy company was making their version of Superpowers, south of the border, they decided to take Green Lantern and repaint him into the Riddler so they could have a Riddler figure. So a lot of us, when they'd announced that they were Mcfarlane was doing a Riddler figure, had speculated, is it going to be an all-new sculpt, or are they going to repaint the Hal Jordan Riddler figure, or the Hal Jordan figure into the Riddler? And for whatever reason, they decided to repaint the Nightwing figure into the Riddler, but put the Hal Jordan head on it. And I don't know why they did that. I'm very disappointed that they did not use the Hal Jordan body, because I think it would have worked a lot better for the Riddler. And the whole point of doing a Green Lantern repaint is to make it a Green Lantern repaint. And it's not even... Technically, this is the same body, except for the arms, that was used for John Stewart. So it is a Green Lantern repaint, but it's not the same Green Lantern. So I don't know why McFarlane did it this way. It seems to me like it misses the whole joke. You know, it's the thing that would have made it, you know, a proper homage to that Super Amigos Riddler would have been making it a Hal Jordan figure, but they did not. So, and plus, you know, the older bodies are a bit bigger than the newer bodies. So with them using this particular body, he's bigger than Batman. How is the Riddler bigger than Batman? That's not right. Riddler's supposed to be like a little pipsqueak guy. They use like this big old buff body. So so that's disappointing to me. I really feel like they should have just used the Hal Jordan body. I think that would have worked a lot better. So, but I don't know why they didn't. I have no idea. But anyway, this is the Riddler we got. So let's go ahead and talk about him. So I do really like, I will say, the color scheme on the figure. Got a nice, lime green there, and you got the kind of lavender on the belt and the gloves, very similar to how the character would have been colored in the Bronze Age comics. If they'd have made a Riddler figure in the Superpowers line, he probably would have been colored similar to this. And if we compare him to the DC Multiverse Riddler, the classic Riddler from that line, we can see that it is pretty much the identical shade of green. It's just slightly, I think, more vibrant in terms of the green coloring, and you can see that the question mark on the chest is very similar, where it's almost kind of like that hand drawn question mark. In fact, all the question marks on him look a little more hand drawn, whereas the smaller question marks on this guy look a bit more like a font you'd pull out of like a font book. People don't do that anymore. They just pull something up on the computer. But whatever. I love this Riddler figure. He's one of my favorites in the line. Very simple, very effective. Again, where they just kind of, just like with this one, took a standard buck that they already had, pretty much just repainted it into the Riddler. But I think this body type does work better for the Riddler than this one does, if I'm being honest. It's even though the mask isn't accurate, like you can see like how the original Riddler mask does not cover the nose at all, whereas since this is a green, they did use the Hal Jordan head, the Green Lantern mask does cover the nose. So it's not really that accurate to how the Riddler's mask looks in the comics, but it still works for me somehow. I think maybe because I've seen the Super Amigos Riddler, at least in photographs. I've never seen one in person, but I've seen that one around for years, so I'm just kind of used to it at this point. So if you're going to make a Superpowers Riddler, doing a reproduction of the Super Amigos Riddler makes sense. But like I said, it's not really a proper reproduction, since it doesn't have the the Hal Jordan body. I'm going to stop complaining about that now. You've already heard enough, I think. Maybe I can just pretend that this is the Riddler from the Nightfall storyline when Bane shot him up with some venom. Maybe we can just pretend that. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the articulation. And it's the same articulation we've seen a lot of the times on these Superpowers figures, but we might as well go over it again. So the Riddler's head rotates all the way around at the neck. So you can turn his neck around any which way. This is 80s style action figure articulation, so it's very simple. Arms, of course, rotate all the way around at the shoulder. Legs can kick up about that far and kick back about that far. And then he's got knee articulation. Now, most 80s action figures were in the Star Wars style, so they only had 5 points of articulation, but Superpowers went that extra mile and gave us an extra joint at the knees, which I always appreciated. I always thought it was really cool. And, I'm happy to have that. So the Riddler is a character that I've always been a big fan of. He's always been one of the upper echelon of Batman villains, and it's mainly because of his presence on the Batman television series. Believe it or not, the Riddler had only had 3 comic book appearances before. It was a pretty nice figure. Like I said, I think they could have done better in some ways, but if we're just looking at it as its own thing, I think it's fine. But like I said, I really feel like they should use the Hal Jordan body. I really feel like that should have been the case. But yeah, I think what happened is when Bill Dozier was getting ready to make the show, and he grabbed a bunch of Batman comics off the rack. One of the Batman comics that he grabbed happened to be one of those 3 that featured the Riddler. And in fact, that was the issue that was adapted into the first episode of the Batman television show, well, the first 2-part episode of the Batman television series with High Diddle Riddle. So yeah, Frank Gorshin, of course, played the Riddler on that and was awesome and ruined the role for anybody else. There's never been, even Jim Carrey could not match Frank Gorshin. Like an actor of that caliber couldn't beat Frank Gorshin as the Riddler, I think. So yeah, mainly on the strength of his performance on the television series, the Riddler wound up becoming one of the most popular and well-known Batman villains. And of course, John Astin played the Riddler on one two-parter, and as great an actor as John Astin is, he couldn't match Frank Gorshin. And then you had Jim Carrey in the movie, and Jim Carrey was great, but again couldn't match Frank Gorshin. And then in the most recent The Batman, he was just the Zodiac killer, barely even the Riddler at all. So I did like, of course, I like Batman the Animated Series version where John Glover played the Riddler. He did a good job, and I think what worked for him was he kind of took it in a more cerebral direction. They didn't quite try to do the Riddler as manic as the Frank Gorshin. They didn't even try to match it. They just kind of did their own thing with him. And the Riddler didn't appear on BTAS too often because he's a hard character to write. It's funny because as well known and popular as the character is, he doesn't get quite as much screen time or time on the page as you might expect, because the Riddler is a difficult character to write. You got to come up with all the brain teasers and everything. And personally, I think it's important to have interesting riddles and things like that when you do a story with the Riddler, because he's the Riddler. So one of the things about Batman Forever that I criticize it about is that the riddles themselves were interesting, but they didn't really point to his next crimes, which is how the Riddler's riddles are supposed to work. It's supposed to be a clue to the next crime. But instead, he just spells out his name. So, oh well, whatever. It's a nice enough figure. I think they could have done, like I said, a better job with it, but it's not a bad figure. I think most people would be pretty happy with it. But I'm just nitpicking. So don't take what I say too seriously on it. I'm just nitpicking. I mean, I did buy it for whatever that's worth. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the Riddler. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Next time, I'm going to be back with the so-called gold edition of Aquaman to open him up. And he looks pretty cool, so I'm excited about that. And at some point, I've still got the black Batwing and Whirly Bat set to open up. So I might try to do that sometime next week. But I've also got a whole bunch of Batman 66 figures, and I've still got more DC Multiverse. We just got a whole lot of stuff to open. So anyway, if you want to make sure you don't miss any of that, make sure you like, subscribe, all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the Riddler, both the character and this figure in general. And we will talk to you next time. Bye.